This episode of the HP Outdoors Waterfowl podcast is driven by Cornerstone Gun Dog Academy. CGA is the world's most comprehensive online gun dog training resource. They've got over 160 instructional videos that includes everything you need to take your 7-week-old puppy to a finished gun dog. Visit cornerstonegundogacademy.com to sign up for their free preview module and begin your training journey today. Cornerstone Gun Dog Academy, the most advanced gun dog training resource on the web. You are listening to the HP Outdoors Waterfowl podcast, episode 166. This week on the show, we're talking about why everyone should try a guided hunt at least once. All right, welcome to episode 166 of the HP Outdoors Waterfowl podcast, where your on-demand audio source for all things waterfowl and waterfowl hunting. This week brought to you by Quack Rack. Quack Rack's a premium decoy and gear hauling solution for your UTV or boat. It's 100% American made. You're looking at front racks, roof baskets, and rear racks. Follow Quack Rack over at Facebook and Instagram. Check them out using the hashtag HaulMoreShootMore or visit quackrack.com today. Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Josh Palm. Joining me this week is my co-host, Dan Harushka. Dan, what's up, man?
Hey, we finally got into the 6th season of the of the winter. First doctor trip of the year, actually. Kind of surprised we made this far, but yeah, a double ear infection for one of the girls. And my wife has a good low cough on her, so spent the morning doing that, but here we are.
Yep, we've been battling it here at my house as well, so 'tis the season, I suppose. Before we get into any more about this season, let's talk a little bit about Gunner Kennels. They're engineered for your dog, designed for travel, and built for your peace of mind. The G1 series of kennels has set a new industry standard and put Gunner in a category all its own. They were started to protect your pet, and it continues to be at the center of everything they do, and they're dedicated to building the best and safest pet travel crate on the market because man's best friend deserves man's best kennel. Check out their G1 series of kennels and accessories at gunnerkennels.com. Also, thank you to Eukanuba. While out in the field, how you've prepared determines how you'll perform. With balanced fat and protein to support peak condition, Eukanuba premium performance dog food enhances strength, energy, and endurance. So when the truck doors swing open, you and your dogs are ready for anything. Strong, focused, ready for anything. That's a Eukanuba dog. All right, Dan, how was your Christmas, man? Did you have a good holiday?
It was pretty good. Before we get into that, though, I want to tell you about something
Okay.
that I read. What?
No,
just off the rails already.
Thanks for the question. Let me completely divert off of that before I answer it and ask something different. Go ahead.
All right. So a few things, and it all goes back to the staying healthy and not getting sick and germs and stuff. One, I read one study that this lady put like thousands of hours into research and realized the people, even with all like the hand washing and everything that goes on in hospitals, why people still get sick, because it's like should be one of the cleanest places around, right? Well, it came down to dry air, and the germs and viruses, they get into dust molecules, whatever. So make sure that you're on a humidifier and your sickness should go down. But I read another one where these students, they did a test with, they got bread out of like a brand new loaf of bread, and like one kid like touched it with his hand without touching anything else. And then they like put it in an incubation period, right? And another kid touched his laptop and then did it. And then someone used hand sanitizer, wiped the bread, put it in the thing, and then someone washed their hands. And I guess the regular hands was pretty bad. The laptop was like absolutely horrible. And the hand sanitizer was just as bad as the kid that didn't wash his hands and didn't touch anything. So really, it says it kills it, but the hand washing, like actually sitting there with soap and water, washing your hands, was the best turnout. So make sure you wash your hands and have your kids wash your hands.
Yeah, I gotta be honest with you. It shocks me whenever you use the facilities, right? Whether you're at work or somewhere else, like if you're in there where you have to sit down as a guy, when people come in and out, it's like they act like nobody else is in there, right? And I'm just appalled at how many people don't wash their hands in the bathroom. It is disgusting.
It's like, it's pretty gross. But anyway, so wash your hands and run a humidifier in your home, and it should help a little bit. But anyway, back to Christmas.
Dan Harushka, MD.
MD. Christmas was good, and it's funny because I got a lot of stuff for my red beard, and one being a comb, which I was like, you realize I have to grow my beard out to use this, and Erin's like, yeah, the kids picked that one out. Nice. So she's not super thrilled about when my beard gets super long and thinks I look kind of like the Amish folk around here. But got a few cool things, but kind of low key. Kept it on the kids this year.
Yeah, same here. Pretty much got some clothes that I needed, that kind of stuff, but pretty low key. No waterfowl related. I think my wife got me a t-shirt, and it's funny because, being a waterfowl hunter, anytime my wife sees something that's got like a duck or a goose on it, she like automatically thinks I want it. So, she goes to like Eddie Bauer at the outlets, and there's like a t-shirt there with a mallard on it. So she scoops it up. She's like, look, a duck. Yeah, it's cool. Anyway.
Nice duck shirt.
Yeah, it's all good. So,
hey, I try. It's all right.
Yeah, no, I actually do like the shirt. It's really cool. And it's super comfortable, but the point.
You want to know something? Go ahead.
No, my point was just that, like, anytime they see anything that's like waterfowl related, because she doesn't typically go to stores where that's a thing. So, like, when she goes into a store and sees like a duck on a t-shirt, automatically I'm getting it because,
because that's you.
Yeah.
We made it through Christmas without buying any electronic devices for the kids.
Really?
Yeah.
That's like all we bought.
Yeah. Some toys and stuff, but
yeah, my son's got an Xbox and a Switch this year.
Jeez.
Yeah, like just no brain molecules left. Like all the cells, we just want to kill them all off.
There you go.
Yeah. But we've been playing some Fortnite, and it's been fun. I'm not going to lie.
Jeez. You can play against Joe.
Yeah, we're probably going to play against Joe at some point here. So
that's funny.
Anyway. All right. So, one of the things that I noticed, it seems like this time of year, I notice it on Facebook a lot, is people start asking about guides and recommend a guide for a lot of them are around like snow hunting or like conservation season kind of stuff. But I do know a lot of guys, buy a guided hunt for their dad or their kid or whatever and, go together. So, one of the things that you brought up here recently was an article that you saw about this. And we kind of thought it might be a cool topic, but, talk about some of the pros and cons, but why everyone should try a guided hunt at least once, right?
Mm-hmm.
So why don't you tell me more about that, Dan?
Sure. And it's almost, I was just out in Kansas, which I believe I said I would update people on the last hunt that we had, which Aubrey is a super cool guy, but he didn't make his gumbo till after I left. So Aubrey, I'm kind of upset about that. And no, it was a real good time. The last morning, crushed the 40 ducks, limited out, and it was just super cool on a small water, and just a really, really good hunt. The birds did not want to get out of there, so it's every guy's dream pretty much, and some very experienced hunters that said it was, it was a bucket list hunt to hunt mallards over small water. So to see everyone happy was awesome, and a ton of meat going home. But I think I almost want to break this down from an inexperienced hunter to an experienced hunter, and why both of them can benefit from it.
Okay,
if that works,
I can roll with that.
So I think we mentioned it before, like when you were getting into waterfowl hunting, one of the first things you did was book a hunt, right? And
it's what actually got me into waterfowl hunting. Was
Yeah.
I got
So
invited? I got invited on a guided hunt. Yeah.
so people that see it on social media or talk to friends, and I think just the benefit of not spending all of the money up front for your, say, decoys or boats or blinds or leases, whatever it may be, get in on a duck club, going out and experiencing the hunt with a good guide is going to either make you or break you on your journey. I feel like, I think if you would have went on that hunt and it was just absolutely awful, it'd be a little different for you because you're a hunter and you probably understand that it's still wild. But I think some people would be like, yeah, it's just not for me, even if it was a good hunt.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I this is a tough one because honestly, like, I mean, I've told the story on the show in the past, but the first we were, it's not like we shot a bunch of ducks that day because we didn't. But the first time that a duck came into the spread, it was a wood duck mallard, or wood duck drake, and I just thought it was like the coolest thing. I just thought it was, I don't know, and it's not something that like I had any sort of expectation of thinking was cool. It's just when it happened, I was like, whoa, that is cool. Like, we're literally sitting here talking, shooting a breeze, and a duck just like dropped into the, into the spread. And we didn't even realize it. I was like, you can't do any of that when you're deer hunting,
Mm-hmm.
So like, to me, getting out and just having that camaraderie and like that social aspect of it was already something that I was, was into. And then, still having game finish while you're doing that, I was like, wow, this is pretty sweet, But yeah, I mean, if it was a bad experience for whatever reason, it could have definitely swung me the other way. But I think that goes to say with most hunts, like whether your first hunts are with your dad or your grandpa or a guide and a couple of buddies, those first ones are pretty critical, because I mean, if you go out there and struggle and you don't have fun, and when I say struggle, I mean, it doesn't mean you go out there and kill a bunch of birds, but if you don't go out there and have fun, that has a resounding impact on future hunts and potential not future hunts. So I think that's why a guide can really play into it, because it takes a lot of the pressure off of like, all the scouting and all that stuff you're talking about. But like, think about how hard sometimes it is to get your gear into the field. Like, think about how much you struggle lugging decoys or lugging blinds and all that kind of stuff. For the most part, like, a guide's set up to handle that kind of stuff and got quads or whatever. Like, a lot of that stuff's taken off the table. So like, right there is a huge one that like, if you don't know why you're struggling and like sludging through all this stuff to make it happen, you might get turned off immediately by like, man, this is a lot of hard work. This sucks. We did all this to like not see a bird this morning. Like that's a waste of my day. Right. But if like, if you have an experience of like what it can be like, now you might be more willing to say like, okay, like I'm willing to do this and put into this work because I know what this could be if it works out.
Hey, let me make another public service announcement right now. A guy that I've hunted with a few times around here, one of his hunting buddies that was just a go-getter, like always crushing birds. Like, go up to New York, wherever he went, they were killing hard. And it just makes me think of your sludging through the mud. They were hunting a field up in New York, and I told this story when I was out in Kansas, and the guys were kind of shocked by it. So this guy was mid-30s. They got done hunting a really muddy field, and they didn't want to keep walking whatever it was, the 500 yards out into the field to get their stuff. So what he did was put a couple decoy bags around his neck in, alternating sides. So essentially he was kind of pinching down on his neck and the weight and, his blind and his gun and everything else, trying to get everything out in one trip. The following day, he ended up having a stroke. This is a couple years ago. But, he made it through it, and he's just now, I saw him over the summer, and I think it's been two years. And, just getting back, he said his balance is still off a little bit, but finally getting back out in the woods and everything like that. But when he went into the doctors, he said, "Why do you have all these bruises like on your shoulders and neck?" And he's like, "I have no idea, And then after he left, he's like, "It was from carrying all that weight, and it ended up pinching down on his neck. And essentially they think that's what caused the stroke." So be careful when you're carrying a ton of weight. Keep it off of your main arteries if possible.
Yeah,
that's pretty scary. And being close to home and a guy, you know who it is. He was at the waterfowl festival and does a lot of work with the kids and all this stuff. So it's just a really scary situation. Almost lost his life from carrying all his stuff. But going back to there's so much that you can learn from going on a guided hunt. One, if you don't have experience, and one, if you do have experience. But one thing that people don't think about, if you move to a new area and you're used to hunting one way, and then you just might not be, having a lot of luck, it probably isn't a bad idea to go with a guide. And when you're out there, like a lot of the guys, they're hunters, they'll have leases, so they're pretty locked into where they can hunt. Like, you can ask them so many questions. And even when we go out, that's all I do. We're setting up. Why do you do this? Why do you do that? Why'd you put those over there? And why don't you turn the mojos off, or the lucky ducks? Why are the spinners still on? And I just think it's invaluable to just keep learning to be successful.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the biggest benefits of it, I think, is having that as a resource. And I think a lot of guys, I don't know if guys are like afraid to ask questions like that, or they're hesitant. But definitely, if you don't do that when you go, take advantage of that opportunity to ask those questions, because not everybody has like a mentor that they get to spend a lot of time in the field with. And that if you search these forums and stuff, when people say like, I want to get into it, that's what everyone says, like, find a mentor. Well, it's not always that easy, right? So if you're out there struggling on your own, kind of trying to get it done, like, if you get an opportunity to ask questions or like hunt with somebody that's got knowledge, definitely take advantage of that. And the internet has helped. I mean, right, you can ask a lot of questions online and things like that and get great answers. But still, to that end, like, there's nothing that can replace the value of sharing the blind with somebody. And one of the biggest things that I always take away, and I felt like made me a better hunter, was listening to guides call. Because I listen to them call in the sequence, in the cadence, in the tones that they use, and then I leave there and I try to replicate those, and I practice on replicating those. And I think it's made me, I always feel like I leave a hunt, and the next time I hunt, I'm like at least in my mind, I feel like I sound better in the field because it's fresh in my mind of what I just heard them do and how it worked on birds and things like that. So for me, the calling aspect is always one that I really find a ton of value in.
Yeah, and going to that, and we were hunting a feed of, 15, 20,000 geese and ducks mixed in, and we're getting there, and some of the geese, they know where they're going, so they get up, and I wouldn't say we were hunting a traffic field because they had been in this field, so the calling's going and not working. Then I hear a totally different sound sequence. Like, I'm like, what is going on? So after the hunt, I asked the one guide, I said, did you let one of the guys in the sitting next to you call? He's like, no, why? And I said, it just sounded really different, like weird. And he goes, no, they weren't really responding to my usual call, so I just mixed it up. So he used a totally different call, totally different sound, started shooting some birds. I was like, man, that is it's just pretty cool to see, change it up after a couple volleys and see what happens, and it worked out.
Yeah. One of the biggest things that I always think about, and I see people talk about when it comes to a guided hunt, is, the cost, right? And what it costs you to hunt. And I looked at it in the past, and depending on your situation, right, is depending on what you have as far as access to public ground and all that kind of stuff. When you factor in the cost of decoys and blinds and if you got to pay leases and stuff like that to get access to fields, like depending on your situation. And I know this to be true around where I'm at, because access is difficult for a lot of people. So you're stuck to a handful of areas unless you're fortunate enough to have private access. But, a lot of guys used to, like in this area, would just join a club up on the eastern shore of Maryland, and they'd go up there to hunt. Right. And so I looked at that for a while, and I was, they were charging, I want to say it was around $1,500 roughly, right, for a lot of these clubs up there. And you're probably going to shoot mostly geese, right? And, and I was like, man, $1,500. A lot of the guys up there like are 150 to 175 a day per gun. So I'm like, I could hunt almost every Saturday of the season with a guide and pay them that money and have them scout and how use, leverage their knowledge and their decoys and stuff instead of having to like use a club, kind of thing. And I'm not saying, and I never did that obviously, but what I'm saying is that while it seems like it's a lot of money to go with a guide, when you look at it over the span of what it would take for you to hunt on your own and what you put into equipment and all that kind of stuff, it may not be as an expensive endeavor as what you think, relatively speaking. And the extra benefits of the knowledge that you gain and the mentorship that you can learn from is super helpful and something that I think does bring value to that day fee that you're paying. So I know. I mean, again, everyone's going to be restricted by their personal means, right? What they can afford to do. But if you have the ability to do them, I think there is value in there other than just the hunt that you need to consider when you're talking about what it costs to go hunt with them.
Yeah. And the thing is too, like our location doesn't help us for wanting to hunt different areas, right? Like if we lived in Kansas or Oklahoma, like you could drive down to Arkansas and hunt some flooded timber and do a dream hunt that you always wanted to do. Like that is a lot of driving from here, or going out to Oregon or Washington and hunting the Pacific coast or whatever, maybe hunting Montana. I definitely still want to get up there, but it's just, if you had all that stuff, all the decoys and a trailer and could get around, it might be a little easier for you, but still, you're going to have some downtime in that scouting and getting permission. And, there's some areas that probably if you go down to Texas, you're going to have a real tough time getting on anywhere, but it is what it is. I definitely think, like we said, the experience and having that property locked down is just get in, you hunt it, and you get to go home. So it's a time saver. It depends how valuable your time is a lot of the time too.
Yeah. But I also think that it's a great way to get new, I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've seen posts in our group where, the son is a waterfowl hunter and the dad's always been a deer hunter, and they finally talked dad into going out on a hunt, and they went on a guided trip or something like that, and dad had a great time and now wants to get more into waterfowl hunting, right? You see that a lot, and that's a great opportunity, because like I said, if dad is out there for the first time with you and you're setting up, you drag him out into a field and you're trying to set up decoys and he doesn't know what's going on and he's just kind of standing around, like he's losing some of that, some of that magic of the hunt, right? Which you're doing, because like a lot of people, setting up the spread and figuring it all out, that's part of the magic, right? Like that's part of the deal. But for someone like that, they don't know that yet. So instead of you doing that and leaving them kind of hanging, the guide can help take care of all that, and you can spend that time with them, drinking coffee, cutting up, explaining what's going on, like just sort of like allowing them to be more immersed in the hunt instead of just sort of waiting around for someone else to do something for them. That's the one thing too, like, every guy that I've ever hunted with is not opposed to letting people help. So if you want to, grab a stack of decoys and take your dad or your son or your brother or whoever it is, right, and learn and help them figure out what's going on, or better yet, grab a stack of decoys and get yourself right behind the guide and just be like, hey, ask them, where do you want these? Like, how do I do this? Right. And I mean, they'll tell you, right? Cause I mean, when you're setting out, 15 dozen decoys or whatever, they could use the help. So, don't be afraid to leverage those times to learn and, kind of get your hands dirty if you have the opportunity.
I'm going to go back to where you said, cost is deterrent. And if you start saving your money up and you don't book something right away or they're not prime dates, get into some of the Facebook groups or, call around to guides that you want to go to and, get on a kind of a reserve list, because there's so many cancellations throughout the year for whatever reason, but they'll usually, throw a couple hunts on discount. Yeah. So if you have a little bit of money made up and, a little bit of flexibility, maybe with some days off or something like that, you could probably get a deal and get on a hunt.
Especially if you're a single, if you're one dude, they're looking to just round out a blind or something like that. Yep. I remember when we used to hunt up with, the guys in the Eastern Shore, there was a guy that lived kind of locally that hunted a lot with the guide, and he always sort of had him on reserve. And he told him, he's like, anytime you need another to fill out a blind or something like that, let me know. And he'd hunt with them like 5, 6, 7 times a year just to kind of like fill out a blind. And, I don't know what kind of rate agreement they had, but like he was a perpetual client every year. So, he might've got a little better rate than the once a year type of hunters. I don't know, but there's definitely things like that. So I think that's a great idea for sure.
And then, getting to experienced hunters. And on this last trip, we definitely got to hunt with some, a crew from Texas, and I believe they actually guided, but, they wanted to experience a different type of hunt, and, we're setting up and they're asking questions and, just seeing how people do things different. So if you're in a stage of your life where you want to learn more about hunting waterfowl, I don't think there's a better resource than going out with guys that do it day in and day out.
Yeah. There's a reason why, a lot of manufacturers want to get relationships with guides, because there's no better test to, how things stand up than to guys that are in the field every day using product and, hunting it. There's no harsher conditions and things like that. So, the knowledge there is unmatched. And even for the experienced guys who've been hunting for a long time, I think hunting it's always evolving, right? The species that we pursue are always learning and evolving to try to stay alive, right? Mm-hmm. So techniques change over time. The equipment that is used change over time. Calling strategies and techniques, all of that stuff changes over time. So, I look at it like, I used to be a big bow hunter. I bow hunted a lot. And while I still enjoy it, I don't do it as much as I used to. And, I look at my bow that I bought brand new back in 2006, and I still shoot it today. And I look at the bows that, Matthews and Hoyt and them are putting out, and Prime, they're putting out right now. And I'm like, wow, it's come a long way. And, that doesn't feel like that long ago to me, but, it's been a while. So while my stuff can still shoot deer, like it doesn't do it probably as well as or as efficient, but it still gets the job done. But my point is, you can learn incremental advancements in techniques and things like that over time to help sort of sharpen your skills, not sort of relearn them, but sort of just sharpen what you have and sort of evolve what you already know.
Yep. I think we should have preface this episode by saying, make sure that if you go on a guided hunt, you do your research and talk to people that have hunted with them, and make sure you're going with the quality guide, because there's some that are just out there to take your money, and there's some that really just dedicate every ounce of their energy into making a successful hunt. And, even like when I was out there last week in Kansas, it's 60 some degrees during the day. You don't have new birds moving in. It's not warm up north, or it's not cold up north, and they don't have to go south. They really don't have to come back up north. It's just a weird situation. You get stale birds, and, you might have some days where if you don't have someone that knows what they're doing, you're going to sit in a blind for a long time, and versus, shooting limits. So it's a big change, a big difference. Make sure that you do your research on that.
Yeah, 2 things on that. We did an episode a while back on how to pick an outfitter. So if you've been thinking about going with an outfitter or not really sure where to start, check that episode out. There's a lot of good tips in there. But then also, I think the thing to keep in mind is that even if you pay for a guide, and while they might have access to prime spots and hunting prime flyways and all that kind of stuff, there's no guarantee. And they can't control the weather, they can't control the flight, they can't control the migration, all of that sort of thing. But what it does, hunting with someone that is reputable and that puts on a good hunt, it gives you that confidence to know that even if it doesn't work out, that your money was well spent on somebody that was giving it everything they had. Some guys that just want to mail it in and aren't gonna go the extra effort. Like that's kind of the stuff that leaves a bad taste in your mouth. If you go out there and you don't have that great of a hunt, harvest wise, but that guy and his guides are on the road scouting, they're doing everything that they can within their power to put you on a best possible hunt. That's all you can ask for. And to ensure that they're doing that and to have a reputable guide that's got a history of doing that is really what you want to do when you're looking to, invest in a hunt like that. So
what kind of expectations do you have when you go on a guided hunt?
In regards to what?
Kills. Harvest numbers.
That's a tough question to answer. I guess my expectations are, I shouldn't even call them expectations because I don't know I have expectations. I have hopes that the hunt's going to be better than what I could do back home. That's pretty much what it boils down to. I don't have an expectation that I'm going to go out there and shoot my limit because I just know that that's not how things work. But, when I'm going hunting with Ben, as an example, I know his guys and his operations do a great job of scouting and putting clients on birds. So that doesn't mean that I'm going to kill anything, but I know that I have confidence that I'm going to have a good chance to kill something. And because of that, and where I hunt most of the time for the rest of the season, I guess my expectation is that the hunt's going to be better than what I do back home. It's always been that way. So maybe that's why that's my expectation. But it's more of just a hope. I shouldn't expect anything like that. I hope that that's the case. And based on, my hunts with Ben and the experience, and using him as the example, they've always been great experiences. So that tends to shape my expectations more than anything. But like if we went hunting with a brand new outfitter that we've never hunted with before in a place that I've never hunted before, I would only have the hopes that it's going to be a better hunt than what I could do back home, I would guess. I don't know. That's just sort of, I don't know. That's a tough question because
it is.
You shouldn't have any expectation of, man, I don't know, because most of the time the guide will tell you, all right, we're going to hunt a feed where we scouted and had X amount of birds in the last several days. So like the expectation is that they're going to show up again there tomorrow because they've been there for 3 days in a row, but they might not show there tomorrow, and that happens. So, expectations need to be managed properly, I guess. Yeah.
I think the same thing. Like when we go on a hunt, I get super jazzed up about thinking about camp, duck camp, being out in the field and learning new ways to hunt or new setups or new reasons why, like just new pieces to the puzzle, right? As far as and I don't know if it's just from living in the Atlantic Flyway where we don't have a ton of birds, like my harvest expectation is always really low. Like if we get a few volleys and do that, then I'm set. You know what I mean? But I think the only time I had high expectations is when we went to Canada. I expected that we would shoot some birds, which we did.
Yeah. I sort of assumed we would.
Yeah. No doubt.
But let's just take a few minutes here and talk about some of the drawbacks. What are some of the things that can make it tough or be, make it not as great of an experience when you go with a guide?
I think if you don't have your own group and you're hunting with other people that you don't know and they might have different expectations, you could just end up hunting with one of those guys, you know what I mean? And that could be a not fun experience for when you spend your money.
Yeah, I would say, when you go with a guided trip, at least the ones that I've gone on, the guide becomes part of the group. So like if we're hunting with 4 or 5 guys and then we got a guide in there with us, most of the time the guide, most of the ones that I've hunted with, they fit in the group perfect, right? I mean, the camaraderie blends, everyone's sort of on the same kind of personality type, you know what I mean? Like it just sort of blends, everything works. It just sort of, that guide becomes part of the group that day. When you have someone, whether it be a guide or a hunter that's not part of your group, that's in the blind with you, that doesn't fit and doesn't gel well with the group, that can be tough. It can definitely, and for whatever reason that is, whether it's their expectation or just, what they like to do or whatever. There's things that everybody's different, things happen, but that can make it challenging. And sometimes that's out of your control, when you get put in that position. So I think, that's definitely one that can be a bummer at times.
Yeah. I think we already hit it, but the major drawback would just be if people can swing it with time and finances.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if it's something you want to do and are able to do, definitely think you should try it out.
Well, and I think there's a couple other drawbacks too. And we touched on this briefly, but a lot of these times, if you're going to get in with a good, reputable guide, you need to commit to those dates early, right? So you're going to take a stab and say, okay, December 15th is the week I'm going to go, and I'm booking this in July or June. I hope that the migration's on at that time, right? So it's sort of a risk, it's a gamble. It's not like those places got birds all the time, and you may hit it at a bad spot, right? You may hit it at a great time. It's just like trying to plan a rut hunt out in somewhere, and you're like, well, historically the first week in November has been good, so I'm going to book that week. Maybe the first week in November that year is not that good, right? So you just, you roll the dice a little bit on that. So that can be a drawback. Another drawback to me, and while I love hunting the Eastern Shore of Maryland for everything that it represents and the history and the tradition up there and all that kind of stuff, it's 2 bird limit now, or 1 bird limit now, was 2 birds. So while there's a lot of guiding opportunities up there, and the sea duck hunting is still great and great opportunities up there, but to get on a good guided mallard or honker hunt type, it requires travel. For a lot of people, you got to go if you want to get good experiences. So that's another thing. Sometimes it might take you a little bit, travel, and that sort of gets to your point on, if you can get the time away to do it. But I generally think that the drawbacks are greatly outweighed by the benefits.
Yep. I just have one more thing.
One last thing.
Really, I have a bone to pick with people.
Oh, snap. I just felt your tone change. Like this,
Dude,
this just got real.
It just got real. And this is if you're going on a guided hunt or if you are just going hunting. People need to practice shooting. I'm serious. I'm very serious. There's so many reasons why. One, you want to take meat home at the end of the day. You don't want to injure birds and have them, fly away and end up falling out of the sky 3 miles away, right? But it amazes me that some of the shots that are presented and, everyone puts in the time and resources into the decoys and the scouting and just the time and energy. And then when it comes down to it, you're missing shots that you shouldn't be missing. And, you try and make a joke of it and, knocking the rust off and stuff like that. No, you should be out there and, 20, 25 yard shots with birds back flapping in the decoys. That should be a done deal in my eyes. And it's not the case. So,
oh man, yeah, this is one that chaps guides big time. And I think you can relate why. You said, those guys are putting a ton of time to put you in that position, right? And think about this. Most guys that go hunting, at least for me, I don't like shooting quick limits. I like to hunt if I can do a gentleman's hunt where we're shooting pairs and threes and working away and we spend some time in the field, we get our limit. That's a great hunt for me. But for those guides that have been doing it every single day for the entire season and they're just worn out, and then after that hunt, they got to go scout again. Like, if you can get your limit and be out of the field by like 9, they love that, right? Like, let them get out of the field, get some rest, like get some lunch, like recharge a little bit. When they put birds in your face, back flapping to 25 yards, and you swing and miss and draw the hunt out even longer, that's not something that they're gonna love because it's just prolonging the day. So yeah, I mean, if you're gonna invest the money and put yourself in a position to go on a guided hunt, getting yourself dialed in is probably time well spent to fully take advantage of that hunt, because inevitably you may end up shooting your limit still, but you may not. And if your opportunity was there and you missed it, like, that's not the guide's fault if you don't get your limits.
Yeah. There's 2 things I hope to never hear again. One is they should have wore PFDs, and 2, we should have shot better.
I mean, I'm not sure that, at least in the Atlantic Flyway, I'm not sure there's ever been a hunt where I was like, yeah, I could have shot a little better and probably killed another couple birds. But,
No. Yeah, it's just, you get chapped.
Yeah. Yeah, the PFD thing's crazy. It seems like this year has been a lot of stories coming out. I really don't know. Like I said, until I think it's that effort needs to be much larger. I to this day, I can't believe I still see manufacturers of different products showing waterfowl videos or ads with people in boats or whatever without PFDs on. Like, that is still a thing that you see all the time, and I cannot believe that they're continuing to do that. That's got to change. It just has to be a wholesale effort on everybody's part to make that a priority. Just like back in the day when buckling seatbelts became a thing, click it or ticket and all that stuff, all that promotion that they put into that was really, because back not long ago, like, nobody wore seatbelts. Like, that was not a thing,
right.
And that's a big culture shift that's made a change. And was because it was something that they prioritized. And as an industry, the PFD thing has not been prioritized enough, in my opinion.
No, I agree.
So,
I agree.
Unfortunate.
But I have that. That was about my only note that I wrote down for today was take time to practice shooting. Mm-hmm. It's in all caps too. I wanted to make sure I hit that.
Yeah. Well, I think, the funny thing too about shooting is, I feel like it's just incremental, small things that cause misses. Like, in the excitement of the hunt, not getting your face down far enough on the stock is massively common. I mean, I'm guilty as anybody. And if I don't make a conscious effort to smash my face down on that freaking stock, then I'll miss birds just as much as anybody else, So it's those things, practicing them under pressure and doing them quickly, things of that nature. Yeah, that'll pay dividends.
Yep.
So,
but that's about all I got, man.
Yeah, I think that probably does it for me as well. Got any big New Year's Eve plans?
We got invited to a party. They asked what we've done the last couple of years, and I said, the last couple of years, I think I've been sleeping by 10 o'clock, so not real sure, but we might go over to friends and hang out. They got a bunch of kids, and their siblings have kids, so the kids can go and run around for a bit, but that's about it.
Don't you have like a traditional New Year's Day hunt?
We usually do.
Historically done?
Yeah.
Is that in the cards or no?
We'll see what's going on, because that will be our last day of duck season.
Yeah. All right.
Crazy.
Well, being that this is the last episode, no, we got one more before the New Year. I don't know if that'll be out before New Year's, will it?
Yeah.
Maybe Wednesday next week. New Year's Eve is Wednesday, right? Is New Year's Eve Wednesday? Stand by one. New Year's Day is Wednesday.
There you go.
Yeah, today's Sunday. Unclear if it'll be out before then. So if we don't talk to you beforehand, Happy New Year to everybody. And hopefully get out for the last couple hunts here.
It's crazy to think another year's down, man.
Another one down, man. 2020. Coming in hot.
New decade. Happy new decade.
New decade. Big time. All right.
That's funny.
Let's go ahead and wrap this week up, yeah?
Good talking to you.
Likewise. It's like the first time in like 100 days. Numbers approximate.
There you go.
All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and wrap up this week. Before we do, I want to just say thank you to Quack Rack, Gunner Kennels, Yukonuba, and Cornerstone Gun Dog Academy, the world's most comprehensive online gun dog training resource. They've got over 160 videos. It includes everything you need to take your 7-week-old puppy to a finished gun dog. Visit cornerstonegundogacademy.com to sign up for their free preview module and begin your training journey today. Cornerstone Gun Dog Academy, the most advanced gun dog training resource on the web. All right, that does it for episode 166. Hopefully you enjoyed our talk about why you should try a guided hunt. If you're new to the show, head over to iTunes. You can catch up on all of the past episodes, and while you're there, you can leave us a 5-star rating and review. It'll help like-minded hunters just like you find our show. That does it for this week. For Dan, I'm Josh, wishing you a happy new year, and until next time, take care.